Corruption by P.K. Armstrong. Chapter 4. Roland sat leaning back into his chair with both arms bent at the elbows and his hands resting on his head, staring at the board set up near his desk with images from the scene of death of Simon Rain. The crime scene wasn't horrific, as in the case of some frenzied knife attack. There was no blood at the scene. Also, conspicuously absent were signs of a struggle. It was that which haunted him, that man sitting in that chair and quietly dying. He had thought about calling Angel while he waited for the autopsy, but then the disturbing pictures from the crime scene captured his attention. The property was purchased 11 years ago by the registered owners, Donna and Virgil Stark. Roland distinctly remembered the name Stark painted on the bottom of one of the pictures on the wall leading to the upstairs. Running the names Donna and Virgil Stark, he realized that it wasn't a husband and wife that currently owned the property, but a trust. He stood up and wrote Donna and Virgil Stark on his board, drew a line to the picture of the dead body with a question mark in between. What did Donna and Virgil Stark have to do with his dead body? The house had been relatively unharmed. Except for the rotting cellar door used to gain entry, there was no other apparent vandalism, but there were signs here and there that the home had been burgled. The burglary job was simple, only small items were taken. 2 flat-screen TVs were untouched. A large jewelry box was empty. A rare coin display case was broken into and emptied. Cords for a small Blu-ray player and some kind of tablet or small PC were on a table. A small office was discovered, where it seems someone spent a little time. Drawers were open or closed, and papers were strewn about. There were some boxes in this room, and someone had taken the time to empty their contents. Sitting back down, he was about to run background on Donna and Virgil Stark when a text notified him that the medical examiner would begin the autopsy in 45 minutes. Roland sent a message to the crime analyst assigned to his unit to run background on Donna and Virgil Stark. He was about to stand up again, but changed his mind. Although he had already done so in the past, he added a background search on Simon Rain to the request. Grabbing his phone and keys, he marked himself out on the whiteboard near the commander's office and went to meet the county medical examiner. The medical examiner's office was located at the county complex, which was located south of the city of Fillmore. The 20-minute highway trip gave Roland time to think about his case. He had run into Simon Rain a little over a year ago when working a case that involved an assault on a 12-year-old girl, Violet Edmonds, on the grounds of Sinclair Academy by Evan Michaels. Although not directly involved in the assault, it was, in fact, Simon Rain's duplicity that facilitated the assault, and Roland had wanted to make him pay. However, when presented to the district attorney's office, the result was a no charge due to a lack of evidence. Roland had pushed back, stating that Evan was only on the property at the behest of Simon Rain, who was angry he had lost a large property development deal to Ellis and Claire, the owner of the school. The prosecutor determined that since Evan committed the assault against Violet on his own, and not as a result of direct instruction from Simon Rain, that it would simplify the case for the jury to present Violet's attack as a crime of opportunity. Roland had sent the intimidation and vandalism investigation along with his witness statements to economic crimes, but to date he hadn't heard if they were able to make a case against Simon Rain. He would have to follow up when he returned to the office. The new county complex housed several county departments, the medical examiner's office included. When moved to the complex, the medical examiner's autopsy area was modernized, including a viewing area where family could identify remains as quickly and discreetly as possible, and a platform in the procedure area where law enforcement or medical students could view on screen the process and communicate with the doctor at the same time. Even the lack of smell and the distance didn't soften the experience for Roland. Seeing a body in situ at a crime scene and then learning about the circumstances and events that led up to that death was difficult. "Roland, what's happening?" a voice said behind him. Roland stopped and turned to see Sheriff's Deputy Stan Granger striding towards him. Roland had spent the first years of his law enforcement career at the county jail for 2 years and then moved to patrol. His career was on track and his next move was to investigations, but something had changed in the department. There was an undercurrent that persisted after the new sheriff was elected. Questionable practices, bad cases sent to the prosecutor, and deputies with multiple complaints against them being promoted were the norm. One of those questionable promotions involved Stan Granger, his old partner. "Deputy Granger, how have you been?" Roland kept his face blank and his words formal. "Good, good." He looked around and gestured in general to the building. "You know they brought Simon Rain in, that body they found in that house?" "Yes, I heard," Roland responded simply. "So is it going to be your case, or are you just attending the autopsy?" "Case assignments are handled by the captain," he responded, his tone implying he wouldn't be answering any more questions. "I'd better move along. The medical examiner is waiting for me," Roland replied, ending the conversation as he resumed walking towards the door. Yeah, no problem. Good to see you, Roland," Granger called out to his back. After checking in with reception, Roland was buzzed into the hallway which led to the observation platform. Entering the door, he paused and, glancing through the wall of glass, made eye contact with the medical assistant who whispered something to the medical examiner. The medical examiner, after checking his implements, walked over and activated the intercom button. "Detective Roland, good to see you," he said. The only evidence there was a smile behind his face mask were the crinkles around his eyes. "Good to see you, Don. I see you're all ready to go. Sorry if I'm late." "No, not at all. Deputy Granger from the sheriff's stopped by and I sat up while we talked." "Really? He was asking about this case?" "No. Well, yes, he was here on another matter, but when he found out I was prepping this case, he stayed and asked a couple of questions. Is this case going to be a joint investigation with the sheriff and police?" "No, not that I know of." Roland hesitated and then asked, "What business was he here on?" "Missing paperwork, needed a copy of a report." Well, maybe he was just curious." "Yeah, maybe," Roland said with a shrug. "So, you ready? Let's get started." The body had already been stripped of clothing and washed, which was fine with Roland. He always squirmed watching a tech wash a dead body. The medical examiner started his recording. "Don Fields, County Medical Examiner, conducting an autopsy on Simon Rain, as identified by investigators. Fingerprint confirmation pending. Present is Medical Assistant Peter Frost and Detective Christopher Roland, Fillmore Police Department." The doctor began his external examination of the body. "There are no significant marks on the forearms or hands. Mr. Frost will take nail scrapings." Peter Frost moved to take the scrapings as the medical examiner continued to look closely at the body. "Signs of lividity in the lower extremities have darkened the skin, but close examination shows no puncture marks, abrasions, or other injuries to the thighs, lower legs, including the feet and between the toes. Lividity is consistent with the position the body was found, sitting upright in a chair." Dr. Fields paused and, motioning to Peter Frost, "If you're ready, Mr. Frost." They turned the body over. No abrasions, puncture marks, or other injuries to the posterior side of the body. Dr. Fields and Frost turned the body again, and Dr. Fields reached for his knife and completed his Y incision. Roland watched as he removed the organs, examined and weighed each one, and finally took tissue samples which Frost placed in little collection vials. "Anything out of the ordinary in the organs, doctor?" Roland asked. Dr. Fields didn't mind giving initial observations, but balked at conjecture. "The only thing out of the ordinary is all the organs look to be in great condition for a dead man." And then, for the purpose of the recorder, "No excessive fatty tissue around the organs. It looks like he took pretty good care of himself. Heart normal size, lungs are clear," he admitted. Roland watched as Dr. Fields removed the stomach and placed it on a tray Peter Frost had waiting for him. Moving to a side table, he emptied the contents of the stomach in a specimen jar and selected another knife to slice the stomach open. That's interesting. There is a distinctive smell to the stomach contents, and the organ is unusually bright red in appearance." He went back to the body, selected the heart and the liver, and placed them on another tray, carefully sliced each open. "The liver and the heart are of similar color, but otherwise look normal. I will take a sample of blood from the heart." "Possible drug overdose?" Roland wondered out loud. Dr. Fields shrugged and then spoke his answer to the recorder. Sample sent to the lab and toxicity screen of the blood is pending. After attending the autopsy, Roland stopped at his favorite food truck for lunch outside to blow the lingering mood from the medical examiner's office from his brain. Briefly, he wondered if Stan Granger's presence at the medical examiner's office was coincidental. Looking at his cell phone, he noted 2 more texts and several emails had come in while he was in the autopsy. What would he give for just an hour in Angel's company? He had missed her when he had gone, even though they had talked frequently via the video app. He wasn't sure where it was going, but he knew he was attracted to her, loved spending time with her, and missed her when they weren't together. He looked at his phone, again wondering if he had time to talk, but then he began thinking of his case again. If Simon Rain died from an overdose, he needed to retrace his steps, but he needed to know where and when to begin. He had to wait until the full autopsy report. He would return to his office to see if his background checks had come back.